travel. And Tina just indicated that she's held up at work and is able to attend. And here's Cosette. So let's wait for Cosette to join us. And while we're waiting for Cosette to connect, did everybody get a copy of today's agenda?
Yep.
Okay. And we can modify the agenda format. This is just one that we've used, that the Planning Commission currently uses. And we can modify this in any way that you like. It's a bit old fashioned maybe. But basically on today's agenda, we'll do typically a roll call for all the members. Pledge of allegiance, that's something typically commissions and councils do. Approval of the agenda, public comments, and I think I mentioned at the last meeting that these meetings are all open to the public, and so this information about how to attend was posted, so we could eventually end up with members of the public attending these meetings, and they have an opportunity to address you as a commission should they be here. Individual presentations, hearings, those would be reserved for times in which you're actually potentially reviewing a actual set of proposals.
Yeah.
And taking public comments on those at the time that a project would come through, action items or items that we would bring before you to ask for you to approve, such as a final selection of a consultant. Workshops are typically items where we have a deeper dive introduction and discussion of areas with regards to the commission. And then we have an opportunity at the end of the agenda for commissioner report. So anything that you want to bring to the table for the rest of the commission to hear about or that may be interesting. And then we can do staff reports where we'll follow up with things like progress towards budget or looking for grants, and then talk about the next meeting and what you'd like to see on the agenda. So this is just a rough format. We can certainly modify it as we move forward. But one of the things we will be doing is having elections. I mentioned this at the last meeting for chair and a vice chair. And once those elections occur, I'd be handing over the meeting and the conducting of the meeting actually to the chair. So I'm just filling in right now temporarily. Is that kind of a good coverage for today, the things we're going to talk about in the agenda? Cool. And we're so excited we have new technologies. We have new camera and audio in here. So hopefully this is looking and sounding great for everybody. All right. So just to recap, Chris is here, Matt is here, Cosette is here, Lisa is here, and Michaela is here. Both Lynn and Tina gave their apologies. They would not be able to attend. In the future, we'll talk about, when we get to the policies and procedures today, the difference between an excused and an unexcused absence and why it's important moving forward. So with that, is everybody able to do the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, so I'm going to count down to 3, starting at number 1, and I'm afraid we don't have a flag in here. So if you can, in your mind, oh, there's a flag. Matt has a pin with a flag on it.
Yeah, it's funny.
We can do Pledge of Allegiance. So counting down 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. So normally a group will go by Robert's Rule of Order or a version of that, which is to vote. If a group feels more comfortable doing consensus most of the time, that's perfectly acceptable. We just need to make sure that we give people an opportunity to abstain from a vote or to be able to voice that they don't want to be in favor of something. But we've already talked about the agenda, and so just kind of, is everybody okay with today's agenda?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't have any public here. Zach monitors that as part of the Zoom. so that we know who is here joining us through that format. Zoom also has a telephone function, so it doesn't make it so that those that don't have computer technology or smartphone could also simply join us by phone in the future and be engaged in the process as well as attending these meetings in person. There are no presentations today, no public hearings, no action items, but we do have a couple of workshops. So just getting straight to it, Arts Commission policies and procedures. We did a run through last time, and were there any questions, concerns, edits, or changes that the commission members would like to make to these?
No,
No?
I didn't see anything
Oh, you
that
did?
stood out to me. No, I'm saying,
Okay.
it looked good to me, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there were just a couple typos. It was okay. I can't help it. I've been a magazine editor. I'm like, better mark that one down.
Yeah, that would be my bad.
Nothing major.
So then what I would say is if there weren't any changes, and we'll go back through for typos or questions about the document, I would recommend that you vote to adopt these as your policies and procedures. And so in a process, somebody would
Make a
recommend
motion.
it, somebody would say, I agree, or second it, and then that gives an opportunity for any last minute discussion and then a vote.
So I recommend adopt the rules of procedure as presented by the Airway Heights Arts Commission, October 2022, with any minor changes as far as typos or spacing or that kind of thing, but accepted as it is written.
Thank you, Lisa.
Second that. I second.
Stephen seconds that. Great. Any questions, comments, discussion?
Well, no, did you want to clarify the absence thing now or later?
Oh, absolutely. It's a good point. So one of the reasons why this document talks about absences being excused or unexcused is because there are some rules within this document about how to deal with a commission member that is consistently absent from the meeting without having a pre-discussed excuse. And I only mean that in the sense of the terminology, not like, whether the reason is, valid or not valid. Because it establishes a method of tracking of when commission members continually are engaged with the commission. So for example, both commission members reached out ahead of time and indicated, I have a conflict, I'm not able to attend. Typically, the commission would vote to have those as excused absences and they would be reflected in the record. So even though the minutes show they weren't here, they indicated that they weren't able to attend.
Okay.
Unexcused absences typically are for people who have not contacted the planning staff ahead of the meeting, nor do they attend. And we track those because when there's a pattern of unexcused, regular lack of attendance of the meeting, it creates a process by which we can begin to reach out to that commissioner saying, hey, is something going on? We need you to be engaged. Hey, is it a meeting time conflict? Is there, something we can assist with? Is this a temporary reason that you're unable to attend? The answer could be, oh yes, my work hours change. Would you, consider meeting at a different time? Or I'm having some work-related conflicts, but it will end in 2 months or 3 months. I'll be back to the commission. Or hey, I got a new job. I really can't continue to participate in the meetings. I'm probably going to resign. I mean, that's the dialogue that it kind of helps us understand with commission members. And it's very valid. I mean, you all are volunteers, you're giving your time, you have families, you have work, you have lives. And right now it's flu season. So we completely understand that it's going to come and go as far as occasional lack of attendance. This is more in these policies and procedures about a consistent pattern of non-attendance.
Makes sense.
Great question. Any other questions about policies and procedures? Okay. So with that, I'll just ask for those that are in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone who is opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that unanimously passes, and these are your new policies and procedures, and we'll get these cleaned up and back out to you. Awesome, cool, thank you. Let's see, so elections, I also forewarned you about having elections for today. So normally the process is to recommend someone or volunteer for a particular position. If someone's recommended, we do, as a courtesy, ask if that person who was recommended is willing to do it. So that probably means, unless you want to text Tina or Lynn, you may not necessarily want to volunteer for something they don't know that they're being volunteered for.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after that, there would be votes for that position, and we would do them individually. So we would do the chair first, and then we would do the vice chair. So we wouldn't have those nominations together, just to make it really clear about which role. Are there questions about what the role of a chair or a vice chair would be? Can you consider that weighty responsibility?
Sure. Yeah. If you could clarify both.
Oh,
positions,
yeah,
that'd be great.
absolutely. So the chair's role is really the person who is facilitating the meeting of the commission. So they'll, call the commission meetings to order each month. They'll go through the roll call. They'll lead us all through the agenda. And they'll also be the one that will call for the discussion, the vote, and monitor. It also typically means that the chair doesn't vote because they're the ones that are, organizing and getting the meeting continue to move forward. It does not mean that a chair doesn't participate in the discussion or the dialogue around an issue. They are a person that is typically reached out to if there is a question, from the city administration or even from the city council. And the chair would typically be the person who, when called upon, could be presenting a process or a recommendation of the Arts Commission to the city council. Because if you recall, this is an advisory body. And in this particular role, you're making recommendations not only about the process with regards to developing art, but you're also in a role of making a recommendation about spending.
Yeah.
So and those are going to be grant dollars, public dollars, or even potentially donations if we were to get to that point, but they're held in the public trust. And so making those recommendations to the city council, who has the final authority under state law to approve expenditures. And in this case, move forward with hiring, which is associated with the contract, a particular individual to perform art. A vice chair is a person that steps into the role of the chair when the chair is not able to perform those duties. So they get to be familiar with all of these elements of the responsibility and step in and perform those duties as well. That's about probably kind of the limit of those two positions. The staff acts as the secretary, if you will. So the meeting is recorded. We record all public meetings for planning commission and city council, prepares the minutes for you, puts together the packets, etc. And there are inquiries that you can make through us to other entities. So later, as we get along in the process around maybe contracts for artists, there may be a need to reach out to like our legal counsel, which are by contract. We have outside legal counsel, ask questions and that. We would do that through us and staff, etc.
And you are currently in the position of chair until we vote. Is that correct?
I am just leading today's meeting as
Okay,
staff,
okay,
and
sounds great.
then after we vote, I'm gonna hand it over
Makes sense.
to whoever is the chair, and then they'll be, conducting these meetings. And I would just point out that we often communicate with the chair around things like meetings, like cancellations. So, for example, if your meeting was going to fall next to a holiday, or we've heard from a majority of the commission members that they not be able to attend, we'd reach out to the chair and say, hey, would you consider moving the meeting because of the holiday? Or we found out that most people can't attend, would you consider canceling the meeting because we wouldn't have a quorum?
They're the point of contact. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
And are they also the point of contact for, say, media, press, something like that?
Typically, the point of contact for media would start with the city administrator. And then from there, it could be referred out to the chair. So if it came along to a specific event or a project, yeah, definitely the chair could be the spokesperson
Yeah,
for the commission.
Okay.
But it generally just internally, that's how we do communication presently, is that all media communication is brought to the attention of the city administrator, and he determines who he wants to represent on the topic.
Sounds great.
Great questions. All right, are you ready? I see some smiles out there. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the nominations for the chair. You can self-nominate, you can nominate someone else, but they have to be able to say, I agree.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, thank you. So Matthew has volunteered for chair. Any other nominations or volunteers for chair?
I would volunteer as well. I served on the board of Horizon Credit Union years as a vice chair. So I'm pretty familiar. It's been a while, but I'm pretty familiar with policies and procedures and conducting meetings. So I would be happy to help with that, either as chair or vice.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Lisa and Matthew. Are there any other nominations or recommendations for chair? Okay, hearing none. So since we have two candidates, how about each of you, Matthew and Lisa, if you could take a minute just to talk about yourself and maybe your vision as chair.
Well, do you want to go first, Lisa, or?
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay. All right. My vision as chair, with this being brand new and everything, is to hit the ground running. We seem to have a good team of commissioners here. We're getting to know each other and building our relationships up and stuff. And I want to continue that as a chair. I think that's one of the first and foremost things that we do is build our relationships, and as we discuss things and move forward. I served as president of the Multicultural Awareness Coalition several years back, and we helped bring art projects into the college I was at that time. And so with that and some of my reporting background, I have a pretty workable knowledge about how meetings go and that sort of thing. But all in all, my vision is to hit the ground running and get this commission doing things as quickly as we possibly can and get Airway Heights kind of visible.
Well, thank you very much, Matthew.
Yeah.
Lisa?
I agree. I agree with all of that. There's a lot of information that that you've passed along to us, and I've been reviewing that and kind of getting my head around that and getting an idea for not what our commission is hopefully going to do, but what the overall vision of city planners and people who have come before us is. And so I think that as a chairperson, it's going to be really important there's a lot of framework here, and I see a lot of really good ideas. I think it's going to be really important to consolidate that and put practical feet on it, if you will, and to see how that works and how artwork fits into that, because sometimes I feel like the vision that might work for another community may not be the best for this particular one. So I'm really looking forward to working in whatever capacity to get a really firm grasp on what those visions and what those possibilities are within the budget constraints and what the things that we have to deal with. Also working with great ideas I'm sure that a lot of our commission members are going to bring to the table, but also being willing to challenge and step up to the plate when it comes to things that, we just want to really parse, really look into more deeply than just the initial concept. So if I can help with that, I'd be happy to do that. I'm looking at the revitalization plan and some of the policy frameworks, the strategic plan, and I said a lot of really good stuff here. I hope I can help with that. If not, I'm happy to just sit back and do whatever, however I can be of service.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Lisa. All right. Well, so with that, we'll go ahead and proceed to voting, and I'm going to go off of just simply the order in which people volunteered.
Yeah.
And so this will be a show of hands, if you don't mind, with regards to voting. So Matt and then Lisa. So those that would vote in favor of Matt as chair, if you could please raise your hand. If I count 2. Okay. And those that would be in favor of Lisa as chair. And I see 1 hand. Did I miss anything? Okay. All right. So it looks that Matt has been elected as your first chair for the Arts Commission for the City of Airway Heights. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to finish the elections and then I'm going to hand it over to you, Matt. So
All right.
who would like to volunteer or nominate to be the vice chair? Lisa, did you want to put your name in the hat for the vice chair?
Sure, I can do that. Absolutely.
Well, I just wanted, because I remembered you said that maybe you were interested in that role too. But I don't want to make you do things you don't want to do. Are there any other nominations or recommendations for vice chair? Okay, hearing none. I would say that as a group, if you could raise your hand in favor of Lisa's vice chair. Yeah, I had
On that one?
4. Yep.
Okay.
Great. Well, congratulations, Lisa. You are now vice chair of the Arts Commission.
All righty. Sounds good.
All right, perfect. So with that, I'm going to now hand over the remainder of the organization of the meeting to Matthew as the chair.
Okay.
And do you prefer Matt or Matthew? I'm sorry.
Matt's fine.
Matt, okay,
Yep.
great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. And just the only thing I see on this, there might be a typo at January 10th. I'm guessing 2023
Yes,
on that. Okay. For the
first
next
one of the
meeting.
year.
Yep. All right. And so the item C under workshops is to revisit those the revitalization funds. I think they were $15,000 and we were gonna kind of discuss some ideas from the last meeting. So did anybody have any ideas that they would like to bring to the table, or were you involved in that conversation?
I think I came in right at the wrong part, but if you wouldn't mind clarifying or reiterating.
I know there's a $15,000 fund. Is that correct for the first art project to be brought into play?
Correct.
Okay.
So these dollars have been collected over 5 years. They're a small portioning off of the income that the city of Airway Heights received from a contract with Waste Management. And Waste Management has what's called a franchise agreement, which means they have an exclusive right to provide garbage service in the city. This is, very typical in other communities in the county and around the nation. Those dollars, which was $3,000 per year, we've collected 5 years worth of that revenue, was earmarked in the contract with Waste Management to be used for downtown revitalization. And downtown in this area essentially is pretty much between Lawson and Lundstrom on both sides of the street, and kind of half a block up King Street is where that area is. So within the context of downtown revitalization, the opportunity would be the Arts Commission to discover how art and recommend how art could be used for downtown revitalization. So just a little bit of background. The historic part of the downtown is really in that area on the north side of the street. And I'm not sure that most people even realize that Airway Heights has a downtown.
No.
Right. So that's just a little bit of the background for you. And the benefit of this is that it doesn't have any requirements like a grant might have from an organization, but we do, of course, as you discuss this and make a recommendation to the city council, need to think about in the context of that revitalization effort, how art could tie to that as an opportunity.
Just a quick question to follow that up. Are there any established workable mediums in that area, or do those have to be developed as well? Like, is there a wall that can be muraled or something like that already in place, or?
That's a good question.
Absolutely. Those would be all things that you could take today and future meetings to discuss. There's no
Okay.
time limit on using the funding either.
Okay.
Past ideas have been, is there a location where a mural could be put into place? We have approached another grant from this about the idea of doing graphic wraps around control boxes.
Okay.
There, certainly has been in the past an inquiry to our office about, starting up an arts market, similar to a farmer's market. There has been questions about other ways that art could be, integrated into the downtown in some way, whether it be a static feature. Could it be memorializing some type of history associated with Airway Heights? And that's a very broad topic. Obviously there's the military influence. There is the native culture influence. There's the uniqueness of us being on the, scab land, and unique geographic formations that, created the West Plains, which I just saw actually a movie series this weekend about a new theory about how that happened. But so these are all areas that you can, as Lisa said, do some deeper dives in discussion about what that could be.
Yep.
And with the goal of trying to establish a downtown presence, using this money, like claiming and saying, hey, this is downtown, in case you weren't aware of it. Is that kind of the drive?
Like placemaking, it could be
Yeah.
drawing attention to this is a downtown. It could be a part of what would be an ongoing part of a downtown to revitalize it.
Yeah.
And no, there's no medium, obviously, that is selected or in this particular conversation because you're just beginning.
Yep.
And this is where the fun part of these meetings come in. So you don't have to listen to this dry bureaucratic. You have to adopt policies and procedures.
I think I had a couple of ideas just thinking about the $15,000 is the budget, which would probably with public art go pretty quickly. So I was thinking about potentially seeing how to most effectively use that money, but see reoccurring opportunities for art to continue. So maybe modeling it after other cities like Coeur d'Alene or Olympia, who have the public sculptures that rotate yearly on. Essentially the cost would boil down to typically just the initial setup of pouring concrete pads and the hardware and mounting devices for those public works. But then also supporting those artists. They usually offer a stipend of anywhere like around $1,000 or so to transport the artwork and install it once it's in place. It would be an open call. There's free resources to advertise those types of opportunities that could be utilized. And it could be directed thematically year to year to year. If it was something we wanted to reoccur yearly as they do in Coeur d'Alene and Olympia. Other ideas I had was just for placemaking and also more permanence would be a good place maybe to start. Could be even public art benches in addition to the utility box wraps that were already mentioned. But also approaching that as an open call could reach a wide audience to participate. And then we could jury in accepted works that fit the vision of the commission and the city.
I would just add to Cosette's comment that this contract was renewed, so there will be an additional $3,000 per year for the next couple of years, in addition to the $15,000 we already have.
Okay,
And that isn't the only opportunity. We will look for other grants,
yeah.
but this is just the funding that right at this moment is available.
Cosette?
Yeah.
What are public art benches?
Essentially, I was part of a project in Public Sculpture Park where basically it was open call to artists to design a bench that's functional, but that's kind of along the style of the artist, whatever they dream up or envision in response to whatever prompt that we give them. So we could kind of have a little bit of control and then review proposals for that, and then support those artists with a stipend for creating that bench, and then it becomes property of Airway Heights to be utilized downtown. That was one just kind of initial idea, just to kind of get the ball rolling of getting artists supported, but also sustainable artworks that continue.
Would an example of that be the recycled materials benches that were put in the Garland district several years ago? Are you familiar with those?
I'm sort of new to Spokane, so I'm not sure I'm picturing what those are.
Thank you. Sorry, Chris.
And if I'm correct, what you were talking about with rotating sculptures, those artists can still sell those works, right? I think there's a price tag on them or something, right?
Yeah, artists would have the option to sell. Different cities have done it differently, where usually that's the case where they have the opportunity to sell the work. So the sculpture remains property of that artist. And then within that agreement, you get the initial part of a stipend for the delivery and install of the work, and then the second part of the stipend to make sure that they pick it up if it doesn't sell. I think Olympia does like a public voting to get the public engaged to purchase a work that then becomes permanently installed somewhere in Olympia. So if there was funding, that could be an interesting way to see give the public a voice about what they want to continue to be seen.
All right. I like all those ideas. I do like the utility box wraps are, I think, definitely a good building and starting point.
And that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can add value to throughout the entire area, not just at one point here or one point here. It can go through that whole downtown area. And the benches are a really good idea too. So.
Are there, just expanding on the utility box, which I love that just because of everything you said, but I was recently on a campus in Montana that had a wrap that was on the outside of a building. So I think we could maybe even continue to explore the potential of scale with what technology they're able to do. If there was even a space or a wall or a side of a building that could get kind of that vinyl treatment, could be an interesting way to expand on the utility boxes as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking small to big, all sizes in between. So definitely.
And so I'm guessing that we would put out the prompt of this is what we're trying to look for. This is what we're trying to build here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And just out of curiosity, do either of you know roughly how many utility boxes are in that area right offhand, or?
Yeah, there there's going to be a couple, at the intersection of Lawson and US two, because there's, signals
Yeah.
at that intersection, so that would be the ones that I would know right away exist. Zach is going to pull up Scout, or Google
Street view.
Street View. And we can see, hopefully at a level or detail, what those boxes are located at.
Especially thinking maybe not be a horrible idea just to go out there and walk around a little bit. Let me share this.
There's one right there on the left. Oop,
Sorry, I'm just gonna share so they can see what we're doing here.
Can you see the Google Street View for those of you out in Zoom land?
Mhm.
There's a sign there. Sorry if I'm zooming around too much, let me know. Yeah, so there'd be one there on the intersection corner. Go down here a little bit. We're essentially looking exclusively in the right of way for this project, right?
Yes, because the utility boxes are all either in right of way, or I guess they could have an easement, but I think most of them run both right of way.
And the right of way is really wide here, so.
And when you say right away, what do you mean?
Because that, I think, wanted you to. Because did you want it to turn around?
Oh,
Here,
no,
here.
sorry. I had someone come into my office. I'm sorry.
Okay. The telephone box. There probably is only just the one box right there at the intersection because that's the only lighted intersection.
Okay.
There might be right here where the pedestrian activated walkway is. I have to look.
Concrete block, there's this right here.
It has the electrical control box on the light pole.
I wasn't even gonna notice those.
We're starting to get to the end of our area right here.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it might just be that one.
Yeah, it's probably just the one box.
And as far as even as benches, there's not really places, we have the bus stop right there across from Yokes. There's right now, there's just not a lot of places for people to stop and, even think about relaxing, maybe by the stop or something. Salatai has an outdoor seating area, that kind of thing. Wolfie's has their outdoor seating areas, but there's just not a lot of things that are inviting for people to stop and take a look. And not a lot of buildings, there's Motion Auto that has a big side part. There's not a lot of places where you could actually do
Right.
murals or wraps on, on a building perhaps.
And I guess that's my question, like, what does the city own here? I mean, like, if we wanted to install a sculpture or a wall or something like that.
You get to the
Yeah.
view.
I'm just gonna pull up Scout so you can take a look at the.
So in the downtown area, there's the highway proper, sidewalk to sidewalk. In addition to that, the right of way extends up to the front edge of the buildings on the north side of the highway. I'm gonna wait till we get caught up here with GIS, or I guess you're doing Scout.
Yeah, that way we can kind of see the.
Can everybody see the new map? Okay, can you go zoom in closer? So as you can see, the right of way for US2 goes to the front of the building edge on the north side. So that is not private parking, that is actually part of a public street.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And south of US two, that actually is a public right of way named 14th Avenue. That is not the US parking lot.
Oh, see, that's, yeah, so at the corner of Lawson and Highway 2 right there. Is that up for game? Is that game right there? Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Because that's like a,
Yep.
that's like, welcome to Airway Heights. That's like, you're in downtown. There should be a
Well, that's that
presence
box
right
right
there.
there.
Yeah, that's on the public right of way. Currently that area from the curb edge going left, people use that for part of the park and ride. That's there
Yeah.
for the STA transit stop.
Right.
I think there's some striping that's in there, but that's all part of the right of way. I can give you a little more information that might be helpful to this discussion. We received this year a grant for $887,000 to design new pedestrian, bicycle, and transit facilities from Lawson to Lundstrom on both sides of the street. So we're gonna do an engineering design. That project will launch next year.
Okay,
And we will look at how to best utilize all of that right of way for a new integrated walking, biking, and transit facility, which means that the design could put, as Lisa was, I think, mentioning, like park-like setting
yeah,
is one idea on the south side through all of that right of way. That design work won't be done until the end of next year. And then we will be also pursuing construction funding for this area. So part of that design would contemplate replacing the Lawson light with a roundabout, which means that it will be potentially a little bit bigger than that current intersection. And another roundabout would be added at Lundstrom
okay,
on the other end to bookend the downtown.
Mm.
And that there would be a median going in US two, if you can zoom in, at King Street. And there would be some kind of enhanced crossing at that location in order to help people cross. And that would be a pedestrian crossing versus a roadway entrance at that location. So that's the concept idea. We'll be working on that design over the next year. But certainly the idea of trying to have an entrance feature could be worked into
yeah.
that too. So hopefully that's helpful with regards to the planning we're gonna be doing here.
And currently, I think it's, probably around 4th of July and holidays and stuff like that. I noticed banners on the light poles, like going down Highway 2.
Not for years.
No?
No, the Parks Department put banners up for years on the light poles, and they had persistent problems with the banners coming loose
Because of the wind.
because of the wind out here and actually hitting cars.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so that is one idea that when we were kind of talking about doing something earlier with the Avista grant, we were told it was kind of
Yeah.
we don't want to repeat that
Makes sense.
experience. So
Makes
yes, the
sense.
Parks Department did do that, and they did that for a number of years, but that's why they discontinued
That
it.
makes sense. Okay.
And it may be because of the design of poles, how they attached it, they couldn't get a secure.
Yeah.
On the wind is,
I know.
I mean,
It's
you-
crazy.
Yeah.
is there anything maybe we need to, like, if we come up with a project that interacts with Highway 2 at all, do we need to consult Watchdog at all? Or
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, technically Airway Heights is responsible for all of this right of way. The median itself is controlled by WashDOT, but we would typically, if there was any work and And some of you may be familiar with this, we may be required to do an art plan for WashDOT and get that approved through WashDOT before implementing a project.
Okay.
It's a huge multi-page document that has to be completed. So yes, that's a good point. But it isn't a determinant, it is done all the time for art installation along highways and roads.
So could that strip of grass and trees be implemented in the future in some park-like setting type thing, or is that?
Yeah, that would be the goal is to
Yeah.
design that in some way to still facilitate movement because there are businesses there
Yeah,
south
yeah.
side that would be more integrated for intentionally creating a walking space.
Yeah, yeah, so people can shop a little bit and then go
Mhm.
sit on the bench and enjoy the sights, that sort of thing, so. Yep. All right. Does anybody have any other ideas they'd like to discuss in regards to this? We've had a pretty good discussion so far, so. All righty. That's it for the agenda, isn't it? So our next meeting is January 10th. In the meantime, would it be, I hate not meeting for another month and a half, but I know we all have, I mean, we're all busy and stuff, so I guess, should we just keep building on our ideas then? Kind of, I don't know if we have if we're going with wraps, we'll need somebody to print them, stuff like that, but we have to propose this to council and stuff before we can really get any projects rolling. Is that correct? Or?
Yes, so my suggestion would be to take your time at these meetings to try and gel a concept which you could agree by consensus that you want to move forward with and identify the outcomes that you're looking for. Is it temporary in nature, for example, as Coz had indicated, is it intended to be permanent and so forth? And then we can put together that proposal for you to look at, and then we can begin to identify potentially what a cost could be associated. So are you recommending 5,000 out of the 15 or the whole $15,000?
Yeah.
Are you moving with 3 ideas, $5,000 each? What would that be? And kind of making that recommendation to the city council, and then from there, then the Arts Commission could begin to develop the request for proposals that would be associated with that. So in art solicitation, let's say it was the wraps, you probably would do a call for artists to, submit ideas. Either you develop a series of considerations that you would like to have the artist consider for that, a timeline for the proposals. The proposals would come in, you review those proposals. And so you can imagine, a timeline after you kind of land on what you'd like to move forward with as a project, of how then we start working on the implementation pieces.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's helpful. And I think several of the Arts Commission members have all been either themselves applying for arts proposals or have participated in some role with regards to reviewing or selecting our proposals. Is that correct?
I've applied before. Yeah. So I think there's 3 scenarios in their revitalization plan, right? In the documents that you guys sent out, there's 3 scenarios.
Downtown plan.
Yeah, for the downtown.
There's were the early considerations, and so there's just one.
There's just one now. Okay, all right. And do you know which one that is? Is that like keeping Highway 2 the main street instead of like moving?
The final preferred alternative was to have the downtown stretch from Lawson to Lindstrom and go up King Street to the north.
Okay,
Because the idea was, eventually that would, create an axis for a commercial area, so it wasn't just linear along US 2. And then the plan built upon that by recommending higher density residential would be then
yeah,
identified or rezoned basically north of that, so more density supporting, downtown business. And I mean, there were other, pieces to that, like, going after streetscape changes, like we're looking at with this engineering money and so forth to help spur development. We also applied for a grant this fall from the Department of Commerce that would be a facade renovation grant for businesses in this 2-block area. So it would be a grant where it would be up to $10,000 per business. They would match up to the $10,000 and they would redo the facade or replace the facade as kind of like a cash in spur to redevelopment in the downtown, so that while we're working on designing this new integration of US 2 and King Street to the businesses, they'd have some money to invest in getting that going.
Cool.
We won't find out about the grant probably till spring, but we did ask for enough money so that every business in this corridor could apply for that grant if they want to.
and the only reason I ask is if we determine, hey, this is going to be a great first project for the Arts Commission, are those plans going to be affected? I mean, is the project going to be affected by revitalization moving forward? Like if we pick this perfect location, like on the corner of that, like,
I think it depends on what your project is. So, I think sometimes it could be a temporary investment.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be a long-term investment. So let's say, you wanted to wrap that cabinet, it would be at least 3 years before we would ever see any construction along US 2,
That's a great-
because that's just the
Yeah,
way that
that's
grant
good.
writing runs. Like I got grant to do the engineering, but then I got to apply for $15 million to try and build it.
Yeah.
It would take, at least a couple of years before we might get part of the money. So, it's likely that an installation like that probably could be there for several years before a project would come along and change it. If you decided to do a welcome to downtown sign, just making that up, something like that is an investment for the future. It can be moved, right?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's
Same
good.
thing with, arts, temporary or permanent arts installation, those are, potentially salvageable and, can be
Absolutely.
moved.
So those factors should not deter us from,
Mhm.
okay. Dreaming big, yeah.
Yeah, no, the only thing I would, say is, we can evaluate whatever the idea is, as you're working with it. I mean, that's our goal, is to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't invest in decorative pavers.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
That really is temporary, so.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure, we can talk about this later, but I personally am a signed guy, so I think of it in terms of that, and not necessarily just something that is informational, but something that can be beautiful and a
Yeah.
piece of art as well. I think Airway Heights has those 2 signs, welcome to Airway Heights, and they light up and everything like that. That's a good example of using art for communication as well. But and then obviously something that could be opened up to the community as well, for design or input or feedback or anything like that. So
Yeah.
just an idea.
No, that's awesome. I was wondering myself, is there any projects that could involve, say, the kids at Sunset or something like
Right,
that?
exactly, yeah.
Because that helps tell the story of the community and
I
everything.
totally
So,
so, yeah.
but yeah, I'm all about those ideas too. So got a lot of ideas on the table and stuff. So I think we have a good start for narrowing them down, though.
So when we come back in January, we have something on the agenda perhaps to discuss some of those ideas, do you think?
Yes, we can
Yeah.
put this topic onto your workshop agenda and continue this dialogue.
Okay. Yeah, because I think we don't want to get locked into just thinking that, art installing a piece on the side of the road or wrapping a box or, that kind of thing. There's so much more to it than that. And, there may be other better ways of enhancing that side of the community. So we'll see. I think it's a good time for brainstorming.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Well done, Matthew. I am so glad you are chair and not me. Did a great job.
Thanks. Well,
Next would be commissioner reports. So if there's
Oh,
anything
okay.
that
Yeah.
you want to share with each other.
Any commissioner reports or anything you'd like to share? I don't think we have any official reports yet or anything, but
If there were art events coming up or
okay.
training or education that you were interested in sharing with the rest of the group.
No, but you mentioned the art market idea. Where could that possibly be held or located? Is that
Tons of places.
tons of places?
It could be in the Oaks parking lot if they gave permission. It could be,
We have an actual farmer's market that's in the works right now, a private one, not a city sponsored one, but it's at the Hub, which is a church right on 14th there. I think you worked with them a little
Yeah, I
bit,
did.
so- Yeah, so they're using that back end, or at least they're planning. We haven't seen an official, but it's in that conversation. So Sunset Park is another
Yeah.
place to use. So yeah, there's all sorts of spots.
there's right here, the city complex.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think initially that came in, a call came in like, God, it was like maybe June of 2020 about doing an art festival, and it's worst possible time
Yeah.
to do that. And we had to kind of talk to them about what was allowed because things were really fluid at that moment, and the large gatherings outside of like a food market weren't allowed. But I believe that the proposal was for Yokes in the Yokes parking lot. So
And all that requires is just reaching out to Yokes.
yeah, to use it, I mean, you could say, hey, here's what we're thinking. We'd like to use your space. What would you think? And go back and forth on that. For that, we would probably have to do some permitting for like a special event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a process we can help with.
Yeah.
No problem there. But yeah.
All right. No commissioner reports, any staff reports? Or-
Is that everything that?
No, it's nice seeing everybody again, and we're excited to get going. But I don't have a ton to report on yet. So
Yeah.
I think probably the big news that we shared, which is we're going to begin a engineering design in this area. I'll let you know as soon as we get the advertising out. That'll be about a year to do that work. We did receive another grant to go further than the downtown. So just by the way, engineering to redesign US2 actually go from Craig Road all the way down to Garfield.
Oh, wow.
we got another $2 million after that from the state.
Wow.
To do the engineering design. So we're super excited about the opportunity that presents to get, change the face, of
Yeah.
OS2. So it's not just this through fair through the community, to increase biking and walking opportunities and transit. So, those are engineering dollars. They're not available for art, but that contextually, as we think about other funding that comes along, what would be ways to help with that? And then,
Yeah.
to create a sense of place for Airway Heights as we move forward. So that's probably the big news. And it's pretty significant because we really haven't gotten any grants as a community transportation related since about 2012. So it's a really big deal for us that we received those engineering grants. And then we also received construction dollars to complete 6th Avenue. So that will allow for transit by 2024 to go all the way down 6th Avenue, come down Craig Road.
Oh, wow.
And then the roundabout will be constructed next year at Craig and US2, and so be able to head back downtown. So you see a significant amount of new transit activity coming through this corridor as a result of now having full service basically to our residential area that we had because of that generous grant from STA.
Cool.
So it's changing and our community's changing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that would be all about staff reports other than happy holidays.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
everybody.
Absolutely.
Thanksgiving and the holidays after that and the new year before we see each other. So be safe, be healthy.
Happy holidays, for
Absolutely.
sure. All right.
Good for staff. Thank you.
Cool. And on this note, the next meeting is January 10th. Is it at 2 p.m. also?
Yes.
Okay.
Same place. We'll also provide Zoom. I think Zach's already sent out the invite for that.
Not for that one yet,
Okay.
since they're non-continual schedules, it's a little different. We're gonna have to
Okay.
wait for a little bit, but it'll come out.
Okay.
All righty.
Is there anything else that you'd like to have on the agenda for the next meeting, in addition to a continuing conversation about those revitalization dollars?
Just ideas, just brainstorming, some place for us to present some kind of rough ideas of what art projects like in the future.
One thing I would suggest is we have access to a few historic photographs of Airway Heights. And so we could bring those to the next meeting to see if that might help with the conversation of what to do and kind of thematically.
Sure. Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good. Awesome. Then call this meeting to adjourn at 3:03 p.m.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone. Be safe.
You too.
All right, just in time for the heavy snow.
Right?
Yep.